we are here to figure out, and I'm going to do my very best to make sure that you get a great night's sleep tonight. Okay? Tonight. Now, as I said, I did this talk yesterday, and it was very experimental. I will mention an experiment soon enough, but I did have feedback that people did sleep very well last night after listening to this talk. So, and if you do get a good sleep tonight, especially if you were struggling to sleep, I saved you an absolute fortune by being here. Alright? So, as I'm a hypno coach, we are going to start with an imagination exercise, okay? So if you wouldn't mind putting your feet flat on the floor, pop out and out, go on the floor down beside you, stick your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and sleep. Okay, is there anyone actually asleep? No, that was just an icebreaker. Okay, right. In all seriousness though, I don't take life too seriously, but I am very serious about what I do. So we are going to do an imagination exercise, and I want you to close your eyes and imagine that you are in a perfect place. There's only you in this perfect place and the sound of my voice. Whether it's somewhere you've been before, whether it's somewhere you would like to go, or if it's just somewhere you've created in your mind, everything about this place is absolutely perfect. The sounds, the smells, the temperature. In this perfect place, you feel safe, secure, and completely at ease. Now in this perfect place, I want you to imagine a container. And in this container, we're going to fill it with all the other stuff that could distract you from what you are here to focus on today. So, fill up that container now with everything else, leaving this one thing to focus on, knowing that it's actually going to be safe and sound and it'll be left exactly where it is there when you're ready to come back to it at the end of the session. If the container has a lid, close it down. If not, just walk away, knowing that it will be safe and sound exactly where it is. When you're ready, come away from this perfect place and open your eyes. So, hands up if you charged your phone last night. Hands up if your phone still probably has good charge. Check if you want, yeah. I once had an iPhone 6 up until recently. I got a new one. And it worked fine until the battery became wrecked. When the phone got 20%, the apps would crash, the phone would freeze, I could barely make phone calls, and it was very, very frustrating because I use phones for work. A lot of us rely on our phone. Did you know that there was a study done between 3 cohorts of people? One group had 4 hours of sleep per night, another group had around 6 hours, and the third group had 8 hours of sleep. There, that's average. You could probably guess that the people who slept the least performed the least, and the people who slept the most performed the best. Fair enough. However, the middle group, the ones who got 6 hours, thought they were performing just as well as the ones on 8 hours. So many people are not getting enough sleep chronically that it's now become a problem that the World Health Organization has mentioned. When your phone battery is wrecked, you can get a new phone, but you can't get a new brain, a new mind. I get clients come to me all the time for different types of issues: weight loss, emotional eating, stress, anxiety, etc., etc., etc. But when it comes down to the consultation, we find that a lack of good sleep is actually the root cause of the problem. If we don't sleep, we don't function correctly. And if we are tired, everything, like absolutely everything, is emotionally draining. So, how do you get a good night's sleep? That's why you are here, yes? Well, first and foremost, before we go into any subconscious patterns, let's just actually tick off the environmental factors to, put a good sleep hygiene routine in place. And the first one is to actually allow yourself time to rest. So if you're looking to get 8 hours of sleep at night, you don't go to bed bang on 8 hours before you intend to get up. Give yourself an extra 30 to 60 minutes to wind down. Alright? the room itself. It's not too hot. You will sleep better in a cool room under a warm blanket. It's dark, so whether you get blackout blinds, blackout curtains, an eye mask, make sure that you are going to sleep in total darkness. Don't overstimulate your mind before you go to bed. Now I'm talking about super duper series you are watching on Netflix. Don't watch it in bed, because you're just going to be one, you're going to be going on to the next episode, and two, your brain is going to be thinking about what has just happened. Oh my God, did you see the Targaryens the other day? No. Don't overstimulate your brain. Please do not scroll on social media and the comments of threads. That's a particular one, because your mind is going to be getting into an argument with itself over someone who you've never even met. Another reason, if at all possible, turn your phone off. Buy an alarm clock. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm just throwing it out there, alright? And I realised this over the weekend. Your diet, yes, I am a personal trainer and nutrition coach. Balanced diet, food actually gives us energy. So you're getting your vitamins and your minerals and stuff. If you were feeling tired after a meal, you probably had too much of it, okay? But if your diet is balanced and your portions are well planned out, that will give you energy. And one of the last things then I'm going to mention, a hot shower or bath before bed is supposed to induce your melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, and reduce your cortisol. I was going to say serotonin. Cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So keep it going. Alright? So you do all of that. And you're still not going to sleep easily. 2, you are waking up in the middle of the night and it's not to go to the toilet. Or 3, you feel like you've gotten a full night's sleep, but you still wake up exhausted. I'm going to introduce to you the captain and the crew. So if you imagine your mind is like a ship. A ship has a captain and a crew. The captain is your conscious mind. It's your immediate focus. It's the part that's paying attention to me right now. It decides where you are going and probably how to get there. It's your decision maker. Now, the part that actually steers and sails the ship is the crew. The crew represents your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is your emotions, your imagination. It holds all of your belief systems. Your crew uses emotions to actually steer your ship and sail your ship in a direction. So for example, your crew could use fear to steer you away from something that's dangerous, or your crew could use anger when you feel like you need to right a wrong. If your crew members are listening to the captain, then everything is plain sailing. However, if your crew members are not listening, who knows where we're going? Maybe we're going nowhere. Now, since a lot of your crew members got on your ship long before a captain was on board, because we were subconsciously dominant mainly when we were younger. That means they got there before the captain even arrived. And those crew members only learned how to do one thing, and that was how to keep the ship afloat. At the same time, they built your map of reality, your idea of how the world works, based on the influences of the people around you. Okay? Some of your crew members are doing the right things. Some of the crew members are now doing things that the captain has decided are old and outdated and unhelpful things. They are following an outdated map when the reality of the terrain is totally different. In other words, they're using Nokia 3310s in a world full of smartphones. It's time to restructure the ship and promote your crew members to new positions. Do you understand that? Is that clear? Okay. So we are going to do an experiment, because normally I do this on a one-to-one basis or in a full day workshop of no more than 6 people. So It did work yesterday, so I'm assuming it's going to work today, but sure, if it doesn't work, I 100% guarantee you, you're not going to feel worse. Alright? So if you are here specifically because you are struggling to sleep, you're going to follow me along now with this exercise. I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourself in a situation where sleep is a problem. See the things that you would see, hear the things that you would hear, feel the things that you would feel. When you have that feeling, no matter where it is keeping your body, I want you to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being absolutely nothing at all, to 10 being as bad as it could possibly be. When you have that number, open your eyes. Okay. Right, so we are going to see if we can give your crew the opportunity to change right now without any subconscious negotiation or traditional hypnosis. Because sometimes the only barrier to change is not realizing that change itself is possible. Okay? So, that piece of paper you come in with, it's taken in your hand. I want you to stand up, please. Piece of paper in your hand, take out your imaginary pen because my budget didn't stretch that far, and I want you to write the number on the piece of paper. Okay, imaginary, write that number on your piece of paper. When you've written that number, I want you to scrunch it in a ball and hold it in your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, hold it in your left hand. Okay. Stretch out your arm in front of you with your elbow locked and your palm facing up. Does everyone understand? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Now I want you to squeeze your hand nice and tight as you look at your hand and look at the paper through your hand. I want you to imagine you're squeezing it so tight that your hand cannot open. When you're sure you cannot open it, I want you to test it. Notice the more you try and open the hand, the tighter it gets. And when you are sure that hand simply won't open, close your eyes. Now I want you to imagine that number, that feeling, no matter where it is you keep it in your body, being drawn up out of you and into that piece of paper. Whether you can see it moving or whether you can feel it moving. As it goes down your arm and into that piece of paper, your arm gets heavier and heavier, as if your paper is like a sponge, soaking up that number and all the feeling with it. Have a think. Everything I'm holding, everything I can get rid of is in my hand, and I am just holding on to it. And when everything is out of you and into that piece of paper, your crew will start to open their hand and you can just let it go. And you can take a seat when you're ready. Alright. So, just a quick check around the room. Previously, was the number 6 or higher? Just give me a hand. Okay. Lovely. And for anyone who didn't put up their hand, would you imagine if you were there in real life, it would be higher than a 6? Probably. Alright? So, there's a crew member causing this sleep problem. Don't get me wrong, they aren't doing it out of malice. They just think that for whatever reason, that this is the best strategy for the most happiness, even if that strategy is wrong, according to the captain. So for example, a client of mine hadn't slept properly, excuse me, in over 10 years. Her crew thought it would be a brilliant idea to relive situations over and over in her mind as she lied there, wide awake yet totally exhausted. Like stuff that was like from like 10 or 20 years ago that wouldn't really be relevant now. It was almost like her crew were trying to put a jigsaw together, but it had a missing piece. Now sometimes when we think, if I were in that situation again, I would do X, Y, or Z. And that's absolutely fine. However, if you're going over the same things over and over and over and over again, clearly there's nothing new to learn here. That everything that we needed to learn was learned at the time. But when you're trying to go to sleep, that's not the appropriate time for your crew to get out of the bed and look under the bed for a jigsaw piece that doesn't exist. The puzzle is unsolvable. So I said to her crew, let's focus on new puzzles with a fresh head. She went to sleep that night. And actually that's common amongst people who run their own business and also people who don't, is that sleep itself is a waste of time. That as soon as we stop working or stop thinking about work, that time resting could be better spent doing other things. The truth is though, sleep is the most important job of the day. When we are not sleeping, we are not functioning properly. We make bad decisions, we work slower, we make mistakes and have to do things over and over again. The tired version of ourselves is the least productive version. So if you find yourself lying there at night thinking of all the jobs that you have to do and you're bouncing from one thing to the next without getting anything done, if you're thinking about all the stuff that you didn't manage to get to do that day, or you're thinking about all the stuff that you still have to do tomorrow, just remember this, the most important thing that you have to do every night for the rest of your life is to ensure that you get a good night's sleep at the end of it. And to follow up on the to-do list, which I forgot to mention earlier on in the talk, your to-do list, some people may write one down. You don't do it before bed because your mind's going to be on overdrive. You do it either at the start of your day or the end of your working day. But if you are struggling to sleep because you are overwhelmed by all of the things that you still have to do, know this, our to-do list is never completed. Whenever we finish one job, another one gets added as life happens around us. And what's happening here is that your mind is treating an empty to-do list as the signal to go to sleep. It's waiting for the list to be cleared. When in reality, your crew should be treating putting your head down on the pillow as the signal to sleep. Because we've accepted that we will never go to bed with nothing more to do. Some people who struggle with insomnia often spend their time puzzling and pondering about what might happen tomorrow. The threat of something unexpected can often have our minds thinking about all different sorts of scenarios. The truth is though, we can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. No matter how mundane our routine is, we do the exact same things day in, day out. We will never know exactly how each minute is going to play out. When we are well rested, we think more clearly and we make better decisions. So if we go to bed knowing that we are entirely unprepared, yet completely rested, we will often find that we will have the energy to rise to almost any challenge. So if you're going to sleep, I don't even know I'm scrolling this because I'm way down here. I'm just checking that I do have, I'm covering all my bases. Okay, so if you go to sleep and you feel like you get a full night's sleep, but you feel like you've done a full night's work, in other words, you get your full sleep but you wake up feeling absolutely wrecked. That is because there is a part of your mind that is not shutting down when it's supposed to. So if you imagine your mind like a tower block or an office building, all the windows in it and all the crew members are screwing away doing their jobs in the office. The top floor represents your conscious mind and consciousness. When the top floor goes out, that is the signal to sleep. And all of your crew members should also clock out for the end of the day. So if that is something that you are in particular are struggling with, and you feel tired constantly, tonight when you go to bed, imagine that office block and say, now, okay, the top floor is going out, and if you have to, even if you have to, individually turn out all the other lights, the signal to your crew to clock out, as I already said. We can't work 24 hours, nobody, even your crew. We do need rest. Some people feel vigilant when they go to sleep, and that's quite often down to they might have had, unfortunately, a break-in, or they've had to remain awake because of a phone call for a medical emergency for a relative, or more commonly, when the kids were younger, you'd have to stay subconsciously awake to listen out for them. I had a client once who did have a break-in, and she was woken up every hour by the slightest noise. I said to her, it sounds like your crew are playing the night watchman. And this resonated with her, but I was able to reassure her that we already have one crew member who is responsible for this. So what the night watchman is, if you go back to the office building, the night watchman is the security guard in the security hut, in the car park, who's looking after the building when everyone else has gone home for the day. No matter how deeply you sleep, if there's something that warrants you to wake up, your night watchman will wake you up for an emergency in the middle of the night. So trust your night watchman. They will wake you if you need to be woken. 2 more. All right. Do I have 2 more? Yes, I do. Okay. So, sometimes we can't go to sleep because the neighbours are having a party, or our partner is snoring. Noises. In truth though, we have slept through much noisy environments before. It's likely that you have already slept on a plane, or a train, or in a car, or you've slept with the TV on. You don't need absolute silence to go to sleep. It's not the actual noise that keeps us awake. It's our emotional response to it. If something annoys us or flares up our curiosity, of course that's going to keep us awake. But if the noise is normal, it won't come into our awareness. Your partner snoring is a normal sound, and it's a reminder that they are alive and well. I had a client who moved from Swords, beside the airport, out into the countryside, and came to me because she couldn't sleep because she said the country was so noisy. I questioned that theory, whether after spending most of her life sleeping beside planes, went to the countryside of like birds chirping or whatever. We don't even hear crickets in Ireland anymore. But those nighttime noises out in the countryside were really noisier than airplanes. When she realised that the noises of nature were nothing to be alarmed about, that was when her crew accepted that was when she started to sleep. And now, in case you were wondering and thinking that sleep is so important, and as a result you cannot go to sleep because you have to go to sleep, it might be worth taking a different approach. We very rarely get to lie there and do absolutely nothing. This is why we love our beach holidays. Lying on a sun lounger all day doing sweet FA, and you don't feel guilty or lazy. The truth is, we get the opportunity to do this every single night. So if you're lying there thinking, I have to go to sleep, once you are resting, at least I am resting, doing absolutely nothing, by the way, no Netflix, no scrolling or anything, I am lying there resting and relaxing. That will take the stress off of having to go to sleep, and further, you may be more likely to fall into a natural and deep sleep. Now, I hope I said that clearly. Does anyone want me to reword that? That's okay? Okie dokie. Right. So, if your crew was doing any of the things that I've mentioned, I've just given you some insights and shown them that the better strategy for most happiness is to go to sleep or do the best job that you can about going to sleep. I have to give you a disclaimer because I forgot to do it yesterday. Naturally, not every single night is going to be a great night, but it's about most of the time. You might find that the night before you go for an early morning flight, yeah? Or during a heat wave when you are really, really uncomfortable. Or you may be going through the menopause. So hormones and night sweats are playing against you. In that sense, know that while you can't instantly change the physical symptoms, you can change your emotional response to it. The first rule of control is that we have no control over other people's thoughts, other people's actions, what they think about us, or what happens to us. But we do have control over ourselves. So at the very, very least, if you are struggling, have a think and think, well, you know what, despite how I'm feeling, at least I'm resting. Okay? That said, if your crew member is doing any of those things, I hope now that they have upgraded with a click of my fingers. They will do it now. We'll see. It worked yesterday. We'll see how you go. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is ask you to close your eyes and try and find that number. Here's the crunch time. You can stay seated. Whatever that number originally was, most of you, it was higher than a 6. Remember, 0 is nothing at all, and 10 is as bad as could possibly be. Place yourself in your mind in that same situation that you were in a few minutes ago. 0 is nothing at all, and 10 is as bad as it could possibly be. And when you have that number, just open your eyes. Okay. It's the exact same. Anyone have anything where it's the exact same number? It didn't change. Oh, that's great. Dead. Okay. Anyone with the number less than the original number? Okay. Perfect. Well done. And that just means you're on the direction to 0, by the way. That's all good signs. Did anyone get 0? No, I had a couple of zeros yesterday. Did you get 0?
No, I'm saying we probably wouldn't be here if we did.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. If you want to get to 0, book in and we'll do a workshop. See, that's the idea is the experiment of it. So I got a couple of zeros yesterday, but the fact that it's less is a huge sign that you can change how you think, feel, or behave. So I'm going to leave you with just one more thing. We're nearly done now. We're going to go back to that perfect place, just to round it up. Alright, so close your eyes and go back to that perfect place. And just imagine that container. Now before you unload that container and burden yourself with all that stuff, just remember what you can achieve by doing one thing at a time. This container is here for you to use at your disposal. Come back to at any time and deal with things individually. You can come back to this perfect place at any time that you like by just closing your eyes and revisiting it in your imagination. However, know that you can also use this perfect place as a gateway to pass through and into deep, meaningful sleep. So when you are ready, you can open your eyes. My name is Sarah Jane. I'm a hypnocoach. I really want to thank you so much for your time today over anything. If you get a better night's sleep tonight, please do tag me on social media. I have a couple of business cards somewhere there in my bag. And yeah, do pass my details on to someone who you think I could help. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.